Anne is coming. Anne is coming from the University of Minnesota. I had the great pleasure to meet her last summer in Fargo, North Dakota. And she has a very interesting experience to explain, and I'm very thrilled to listen to her. Thank you very much, Anne.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. I bring you greetings from my collaborators, Joe Moses, Megan McGrath, and Jason Tom, who have worked with me on this project. And thank you so much for this opportunity and for your shared leadership on this conference. I first, as part of the collaboration that Dr. Minakori mentioned, came across her scholarship on the technical communication and translation, the many competencies, and that crosswalk between them. I'm very interested in the research and the further connections with marketing, and especially the points about innovation. So I will mention some of that in this talk. As we think of those competencies, one that comes to mind for me a great deal as I work with our students in industry is defining the ambiguous times, ill-defined problems, and how to get at them and to better understand them. And this requires work across silos, hence the connecting silos, in this case through design thinking. One such ambiguous and ill-defined area for us is that of emerging technologies, wearables, okay? Well, you may have your smart watch on or use a Fitbit, or in the earlier years of our work, I've been taking some pictures with my Google Glass device here. I'm not connected to the Wi-Fi to be able to be reading about things here as well. This device went back into production, but many versions of them are coming out, especially in the medical industries, because it allows the surgeon to have hands free and so on. And we have a great deal of work with medical industries in the Minneapolis and St. Paul areas of Minnesota in the USA. The Wearables Research Collaboratory, what is that? Wearables research, collaboratory, the collaboration in a laboratory type of environment. We have researched these devices over the last several years, primarily, in this case, in classrooms. Megan, my collaborator, is there on the left. And we have deployed, in this case, the Google Glass device. Now notice, as my students are using it, a while ago, Sherry Turkle wrote, "Alone together." Alone together. Okay. These devices can cause us to go into very personal spaces as we map and track our health, our work, and so on. Then notice a little bit of a change when we decided to go out of the classroom. In this case, we're testing Google Cardboard, Google Glass, and some other various devices. But the change then that made by moving ourselves out of the classroom. We have published this in an online piece in Computers and Composition Online, some of the earlier studies that we did. But most critical to this work and to today's presentation has been our deliberate focus on connecting silos through design thinking. So first of all, what silos? Well, in academia, we have the administrative, academic technologists, and the academic departments. We have our different roles as instructional designers or faculty, students, undergrad students, graduate students. We have our different positions and the hierarchy that we have in academia. So these are some of the silos that we have worked to cross and to connect. Now, what do we mean by design thinking? You mentioned innovation earlier, and that interest. Design-driven innovation by Roberto Verganti, he develops this model, and I would encourage you to look at the left, market-driven, user-centered. We have so much user-centered work in our profession, usability testing, and the changes largely, he would say, are more incremental as a result, incremental change. But how do you get at radical change, and what does that mean? And in his work talks about design-driven innovation of meaning. How do you discover that next direction? And in this case, a strong advocacy for connecting people across silos, for working with what he calls forward-looking thinkers. So that's what this project is partly about as well. Moving our field, who do we connect with across our world in forward-thinking ways? I mentioned design thinking. These are the critical components of it. Empathy, the human condition, working to understand it. As you were, I so appreciated the role-playing and the human dimension. And how, therefore, do we design things that will work? How do we define them? How do we prototype and test them further, studying the human condition, and so on? So in this project, we are looking at how does design thinking methodology apply here to our work as a collaboratory. The case study, 8 of us, you can see we're kind of sprinkled here. We have worked together, 2 graduate students and 2 undergraduate students as research assistants. I will refer to them as RAs, research assistants. And then also faculty and various professionals in our academic technology areas. Now, we used quite a bit of the Stanford Design School and their resources and thinking on design thinking. These are some of the components. Now, see the focus on human values, embrace experimentation, a bias toward action. I chose to highlight here that radical collaboration, their definition, bring together innovators with various backgrounds and viewpoints, enable breakthrough insights and solutions to emerge from that diversity. There are many more resources at this site, but notice the different attributes. Okay, when we think of our world and our work as technical communicators, how do we help people with ambiguity? To work to collaborate. Curiosity. Again, remember the top of the diagram on design thinking. Empathy. Constant iterative work. Keeping an open mindset. These are principles imperative to this work. We connected ourselves with, as I mentioned, that academic technologist, the collegiate silo there, and our students worked together with them in their environment. And together, we met weekly, we share, or I should put that in present tense because this continues. We meet weekly, we share, everything is transparent in sets of Google Docs, all of the many resources, of course, that we use as technical communicators. And we came to iteratively define this project as a case study of applying design thinking principles to the development and deployment of an experience designed to enable innovative insights and solutions. We address ambiguous, tricky problems, work together across silos, and develop multiple solutions to issues. I will share one such mini case from this work. This is Jason's class. He is investigating non-native English speakers' perception of the use and design of wearables. He's collecting their recommendations for re-envisioning and improving the development of wearable technology. He writes, "Overall, my radical collaboration can be summed up in 3 lessons. First, working with the RAs has allowed me to better address the concerns of my students. The RAs help me to locate challenges faced by users and design relevant and timely solutions. Second, all meetings and conversations have been centered around productivity, invention. Design thinking methodology propels a doer philosophy. It complements a graduate education that mostly encourages its students to be thinkers. But most importantly, I learned to communicate with different audiences. Such a feature you would think would be very evident in our graduate programs. However, a quick survey of PhD level courses in this field from around the USA yields this observation. No PhD curriculum requires its students to work with their advisor or faculty members on sustained research projects. This radical collaboration has and continues to provide a kind of learning that may not necessarily be practiced in graduate seminars within a classroom setting. So Jason is pointing out the importance of breaking out of perhaps our siloed curricula. Our prolonged process of collaborating across silos has enabled us to develop what we pose here as a model of radical collaboration. The bottom, I'll ask you to look first here at the bottom left. Just a moment, get this, there. Okay, and here participatory design. And these four components, as you learn more about design-centered thinking, it's sort of these four components in this order influence it a great deal. First, participatory design. The key here is to bring together innovators with various backgrounds and viewpoints to enable insights to evolve. But this participatory design may fail, okay, if something that is heard or acted upon, a greater authority comes in and says, no, we should go this direction. And in response to that tension, user-centered design was developed, and it with, as we know, with a strong focus on the user, the point being to elevate, in our case, working with students, to elevate the student experience and to make that process and that work very visible. But how do we gain an understanding of what students and the different, in this case, wearers of the different technologies, how they're actually, that actual journey? And then the move to more service design with its stronger emphasis on relationships, on that empathy component. As part of this project, the RAs worked together as well and made sure that we took our findings out into the public, as you saw with the various photos that I shared earlier. And then it's evolved to a more human-centered design that simply continues the shift towards social systems, engaging users, designing methods to gain direct understanding of people. But for us, most important are the things we've learned that are at the top of this model. To connect silos through this design thinking, I would encourage each of us, I see that we need to invite and welcome perspectives that span our theoretical, personal, and professional boundaries. That we need to expose participants to the complexity of problems regardless of experience. Invite radical imagination to what learning in academia can mean and be. To share leadership, research, and our different teaching roles. Suspension. This was maybe one of the harder ones for us. to suspend belief about these boundaries, to suspend judgment of people and ideas, to suspend closure, to sustain openness, to keep exploring when you think of those design thinking components, and to resist hierarchical structures. This is the collaboration, to invite and welcome perspectives across boundaries, to value team learning. Our experience with this radical collaboration is that it gives students a clearer understanding of problems and more fully prepares them for addressing ambiguity, complexity, when they enter the workplace, as the different scenarios spoken of earlier talk about. It's not all exactly clear or cut and dried or takes the process that we have maybe taught. So in conclusion, a model for design thinking, it views everyone involved as co-developers, and it fosters visibility, curiosity, empathy, open mindsets, all those principles that I noted earlier. It embraces relationship building and collaboration. Most importantly, I think it makes innovation tangible. Okay, because this innovation concept, you're right. We have to keep talking about it and working. But we can deploy such a model, I believe, in the redesign of our courses, our curricula, our global collaboration. And by so doing, we move forward in preparing our students to both lead and to collaborate, because we certainly have a future of ambiguity. Thank you. I look forward to our discussion.
Thank you very much, Anne. As shown on the program earlier, we will keep questions for the end of the morning. And so please note your questions, and I'm sure they're very numerous. And Anne will surely answer all your questions later on. Thank you very much, Anne, for this thrilling presentation. Thank you. I'm asking to the floor now Sarah Gunning from Townsend University to see you and to meet. We've never met.